November is one of my favorite months because it's a month that not only ends with Thanksgiving, but begins with it too. In the life of the church, November 1st, which was yesterday, has been recognized for centuries as the day that was dedicated for all those who are living with Jesus right now. And we can be grateful for that, even though it's sad for us. But it's only sad because we're not there yet. The day will come when people will be reading our names, if the world lasts that long. And so we, each November, have a chance to celebrate this wonderful day set aside to remember, because our memories are wonderful things. They are things when we remember people particularly, because they show us how far we have come because they led us this way. All Saints' Day itself in the history of the church year dates back centuries. In the 4th century already, the church, which had by that time become the only church in the empire, had decided to set aside a day for each person that they felt were saints. And so there's a St. Thomas's Day and a St. John's Day, and if you go to some churches, you will almost hear that day's saint mentioned during the course of their worship. But they limited the number of those. In fact, the year itself limits the number of those that can be celebrated by having a special day set aside for them. Plus, people kept dying. And so they finally even set a second day, November 2nd, which is today, which they called All Souls Day, for all the others, including the ones they had just celebrated the day before. And in Hispanic countries, then, in Mexico particularly, today is the Dia de los Muertos, which stands for the Day of the Dead. So all over the world, yesterday and today, people are honoring the memories of those that have gone before them. And we, too, as a church here, have set aside today, in fact, for many years already in the life of this congregation, to read the names of those who were members of the church or children of members when they died. Now, we've added a bunch to the list over the years, but we do have a very, very special list of people that we read each year. And each year, sadly, joyfully, new names are added. So I'd like to read now first a word from Psalm 116 to begin the reading, and I'll conclude it with another reading of Hebrews 12. From the Psalms. What can I give back to the Lord for all the good things he has done for me? I'll lift up the cup of salvation. I'll keep the promises I made to the Lord in the presence of all God's people. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. These are the names then of those who have been members of the church or children of members, and the list is being read chronologically from the one who died earliest to the latest that we know of. After the reading of those names, opportunity will be given for you to come to the microphone so that the Zoom congregation can hear you and to repeat a name that wasn't mentioned already. In the meantime, they are, if they wish, typing the name in so that we can then have those names brought forward, and I will read those names. And so we can add to this long list of those whose lives have changed ours. Robert Ryan Workington, Richard Lynn Harms, Robin Dawn Workington, David Peters, Melody Dawn Becker, Rachel Ann Dirksen. And I might interject here that these are all the names of babies and young children, because in the early days of this congregation, we were all young couples. And so the first funerals we held were the funerals of children. Richard F. Wendland, Douglas Ray Weens, Janet K. Lansadell Sorensen, Andrew Michael Clausen, Elias Wiebe, the first elderly person, Evelyn Margaret Crumbine, Orland M. Friesen, J.B. Taves, D.J. Gerbrandt, David or Randy Keller, Donald Croker, Stephen Brandt, Elda Plank, Gerald F. Berglund, Lavina Penner, Frank Peters, Oscar J. Becker, Hulda Croker, Marwood Dick, Dyke, he preferred Dyke, Rachel Hebert, Daniel Entz, Leslie Hudson, Marvin Penner, Daniel Isaac, Joshua James Rowe, Seth Bailey Dunn, Evangeline Croker, Waldo Hebert, the first pastor of this church, Richard Braun, Louis Jansen, Elsie Ann Croker, Mary Jansen, Jerry Friesen, Linda Gerbrandt, Paul Taves, Jane Friesen, Lynn Robertson, Phyllis Wiebe, James Harrison, Nyland Newell, Walt Isaac, Carol Friesen, Renee Taves, Danny Hebert, Jim Gates, David Dyke, Wilfred Martins, Madeline Nelson, our first centenarian, 100 years old at the time she died. Peter J. Clausen. Paula Isaac. Arlene Taves. Kent Clausen. Werner Croker, our longtime pastor. John Heidebrecht. Adina Jansen, the one who gave us Saint Francis, the statue that's before us today. Naomi Hebert Dyke. Barbara Taves. Lily Croker. Marge Gerbrandt Weentz. Marvin Croker. Richard Wiebe. Verna Rickert, our second centenarian, 102. John Eve Taves. Irma Martins. And Ernst Vidovec. I will now read the names of those who were written on the podium in the foyer as you came in. Felix Vigil. Bill Thiel. Jennifer Neufeld. Johann Michael Neufeld. Steve Ratzliff. Russ and Pat Hinkle. Paul and Teresa Sundstrom. Beverly Steffen. Joyce Davis. And as it's written here, Big Ed Scruggs. Linda Quezada. That's Audrey and Andy's aunt. Chris Yoder. And Larry Workington. And now I invite you to come up and by the mic so that the Zoom folks can hear, add any other names that you would like to add to this wonderful list of people that we loved. We do have some names from the Zoom community. Oliver Reeves, Sally Kennedy, David Barber, Caitlin Williams.
Chester and Lois Cover, who were early members of this congregation.
Nancy McMillan, who invited me into the Mennonite community.
Everybody, my Aunt Norma died, and I'm going to miss her something awful. And I'm never going to see her again, not in this life.
And I might add, Mark, your dad, Leland, who was a member here too of the church for so long, Leland Weentz.
Richard and Billie Jean Wiebe, who I believe were
Hear these words then from Hebrews 12. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with faith and perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Amen.